there less posters this year?
Seems like there's less.
There's probably the same amount.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it just feels sparser somehow.
It does.
Are there less causes? Are there less rooms? I know that there certainly aren't any less messages from the people that run the con.
Right.
From CONvergence itself. Important messages, all the same, but they make up probably about 50% of
yes,
what
they
I've
do.
seen. And we, in no small part, have contributed ourselves to that.
Yes.
We certainly fielded a great number of posters this year, which you can see.
Yes.
Just Enough Trope and Enterprising Individuals. That's who we are, the Just Enough Trope podcast. I'm your host, Caliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
Doing our first show from the first day of CONvergence 2017 to infinity and beyond.
That's right.
A.K.A. your wait time at TGI Fridays.
Yes.
Boom! Got him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the con has just begun, and it's the first day, or the first night after the first day, or basically around the same time. It's not technically the next day yet. No, actually it is. So, so tired. How, is it age or is it beauty? No, is it, do you feel like you get drained like the first day?
Yes,
And this is
I do.
And this is a 4-day affair. This isn't like your typical 3-day show.
And I judge myself a little harshly.
I know. Today you were like, my back kind of hurts, and I'm old lady.
Well, yeah, and like, yeah.
Yes, you and I'm old lady.
Well, we did do a lot of walking.
Did a lot of walking.
A lot of sitting.
Yes. Well, two things bad for your back: walking, sitting. We all know. I don't need to say that here. Yeah, it's always things don't get rolling until 12:30. So it's kind of like a half day ish.
Yes.
Although I'm sure people are they're making it a full day still as we record this. But it is the end of the day, and we had a pretty good time. I think that what I like to do and what we did, like we usually do, is cruise it. We cruise it around a little bit.
Yeah.
We go see what's going on. We go kind of walk the whole deal. We didn't really make it to the second floor in the cabanas, but then again, all the party rooms are still kind of getting set up, and some of them aren't even open yet. So, but yeah, check those things out. We checked the art show out. The art auction. We checked out the dealer's room, which is commerce, baby, up and running.
Yes.
And packed as per usual. And went to some great panels. Did you have a favorite panel that we went to today?
Probably the one that Bridget Landry did.
Yes. About the Cassini probe.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an interesting one.
Yeah. Before you went in, did you have a preconception? What did you think was going to happen? Do you have any ideas?
I had no idea, and I didn't realize it was just going to be her doing kind of like a lecture sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I would have thought, you could have read that and went, all right, I mean, is that going to be... I'm not like a space guy, unless it's like fictional space guy.
Right.
Remember the Kant? But yeah, it was so fascinating. I am a space guy, so I'm a little biased, but she is a sequencing engineer for the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter with JPL. NASA, and so in her, I think like around 13 years of work with the orbiter, or with this in this case Cassini, she gave us all this information, this slideshow and videos about the discoveries and all the work that they've done examining Saturn, its moons, the icy satellites, all grouped together. And the rings and all that sort of thing. And this is all publicly available information, but if you haven't been keeping track of some of the amazing discoveries they've made, she gave a nice little thing. And then she's also a charming person.
Yes. And
we interviewed her as well, and that interview will appear sometime in the future on the show, sometime soon, and talked about her background in NASA, how she sort of got her start doing what she does. She is also, her costume game is on point.
Yes, it is.
What was she wearing? It was like a cat thing.
I think so.
It was sort of like a cat mixed with the fabric looked like a Chinese sort of costume, There was like a silk or satin, like brocade kind of thing in these weird colors, and I don't know if it was an original creation, but it was amazing.
It was amazing. And she does a lot of really great work as far as cosplaying goes.
Yeah,
And-
yeah. I thought that it was really interesting to note that Cassini is wrapping up its mission.
Yeah, it is.
And one thing that you don't think about is that they have a policy for both orbiters, which are the ones that, I don't know, they fly around something in a circle around a planet.
Yeah.
The word is escaping me right now. And then they have landers, which land. It's weird I got that one. And they have like a contamination policy. There's a reason that you see guys working on satellites or whatever it is, and they're wearing these Breaking Bad outfits. They call them bunny suits. It's to keep particles from contaminating the works of the craft, but it's also to keep microbes and stuff from getting on them. Because as we are exploring space, and make no mistake, we don't have the Starship Enterprise, but we are exploring space like Captain Kirk. We're just sending electronic eyes out
Right.
ahead of us. But when these things like land on planets, there's no way around it. There are going to be living organisms, microorganisms on those. There's just no way we can get around that. So they need to keep it as low as possible. And there's a criteria for landers, which is like very strict. And then there's one for orbiters, which I guess isn't that big of a deal because they're in open
Orbit.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you get done using these things, you got to get rid of them. And so they're planning this one last hurrah for the craft where they're going to go around and get as much as they can, and then they're just going to like auger it into Saturn, which I think is awesome. Done. Whoop, 2 points right into Saturn. Try to hit that big hexagon at the top if you can. That's an extra 50 points. So yeah, that was pretty exciting. What else did we do today? We went to a panel about YouTube, breaking into YouTube.
Yeah, we did.
Which I found weirdly fascinating, or just because we're kind of broadcasters, it was more like, I need to know this fascinating. It maybe wouldn't have been for everybody, but I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts, even the 10-year-old kid in the front, everybody there was like an aspiring YouTube star.
Absolutely.
And I loved how, and I'm blanking on some of their names. I'd love to give them plugs, but just go check out the listing in the program for breaking into YouTube. Everybody on the panel was great, and they were all really inclusive. Nobody was like, well, I made it pretty big, so good luck. Good luck, you.
Yeah.
Good luck, the little people. They were very helpful. There's one guy who's actually written a guide to getting started,
Yeah.
and I wanted to go talk to him, and there's like 10 people lined up to ask him questions because it's just so clear that he was willing to help with stuff.
Yes.
So I didn't get to talk to him, but maybe some other time.
Let's see. What else did we do? We went to
TGI Fridays.
TGI Fridays and we decided to leave TGI Fridays.
That
It
went
was
great.
Too long of a line.
Yeah. Infinity and Beyond. We went to the... Oh, now you get it. We went to a CONvergence for the socially anxious?
Socially anxious.
Yeah.
Socially awkward.
Right.
And it was talked all about people who suffer from anxiety, and at conventions what they can do and that sort of thing.
Yeah. There were less people there than I thought.
Yeah.
Well, I know that a lot of people, even people who wouldn't confess to being socially anxious or having anxiety can find themselves in a building with 6,000 other people and be like, ah.
Yes.
And so, it was fairly well attended, but I would have thought there'd be more people there because there were some good tips.
There were some good tips.
For just sort of, one of the things I really liked was just them saying, it's fine to step back. You don't have to feel like you're missing anything. Like the Pope's not coming through.
Right.
There's a guy cosplaying as the Pope. He's not the real Pope. So don't feel like you have to push yourself and go do something because if I don't do this, I'm going to miss something.
Right.
If it's time to take a break, take a break.
Your mental health is more important.
Sure. And just go off and do whatever it is that, renews you.
Right.
And that's something that I continually need to remind myself of.
Yes.
I am eat every nacho on the plate, stay until the restaurant closes, help refill the ketchup bottle, sweep up a little bit, close out the party, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
tuck in all the people who are passed out and lock it on and shut the lights out as I leave. Like I can never just leave something undone. And so, yeah, I'm trying to, I don't know if we could do that with all the work that we've got to do for this fun con, but that's something I was like, I took it to heart. I think that's a good idea.
It is a good idea.
Yeah. I was on a panel today.
You were on a panel today.
I was on a panel. It was called Superheroes Rated R.
Yes.
For movies and showtimes, press 1 now. Yeah, it was about rated R superhero movies.
Mm-hmm.
It was a kind of open structured panel. I think nominally it was about... The description could have been this. R-rated superhero movies? What's the deal with that? And so sort of like a general discussion, like, are we seeing more of them? Are they necessary? Do kiddie books need to have F words in the films?
Right.
And, it's clearly more complicated than that. And yeah, I mean, it was a fun talk. Something I really liked was there's a lot of artist participation. People went and they were, they like comics, they like movies, they've got opinions as well. I think those are my favorite kind of panels. Not the ones where somebody just takes it over and now we've got a fifth panel member who's sitting in the audience.
Right.
But I felt like the audience had a lot of good things to contribute, good examples, just like the panel did. And there was a dialogue and a little bit of healing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to say check that out. I mean, I actually did tape it. I don't think
Did you really?
Yeah, but I didn't tell anybody I was taping it, so I don't want to reproduce it. But I was testing the recording setup that I was using because we're going to record our live episode of Enterprising Individuals tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah. It's probably too late to check it out now, but if you're not doing anything at 8:30 tomorrow night, that's Friday night, head on over to Plaza 3.
That's right.
I should know what it is by now.
It is Plaza 3.
Yes, and check out the live taping of the Enterprising Individuals podcast where we're talking about Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and I've been corrected. It is Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan.
Oh, really?
No, 2. The 2 is just added nominally.
Implied.
But yeah, officially it's Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody's going to get that confused with Star Trek, The Felicity of Khan. Something different. Yeah, and then after that we talked to Eric Chu.
Yes.
Who is a designer. He's a Hollywood designer, and he's worked on a lot of different projects. Probably most famously, he redesigned the Cylons. Yeah. I was going to say just like Battlestar Galactica as a production for the miniseries. So that includes, I was chatting with him before the panel, updating the Raiders and the Vipers and the Cylon base stars and the Cylon Raiders attack craft or whatever. I said Raiders already. And so, yeah, I mean, we had a great interview with him, which will also be on the show in the future, talking about his influences and kind of how he got his start and his work on Star Wars droids. Star Wars droids, man. So we've got a Star Wars droids guy. Now we just need a guy that worked on Star Wars Ewoks. We're done. It's complete.
There you go.
Yeah.
Don't forget the holiday special.
That's okay. All right. And then a Caravan of Courage, and the Ewok Adventure.
Yes.
We've got all the auxiliary Star Wars movies and Rogue One. I can't drop this mic. It's too expensive. All the Star Wars movies that don't matter. Blaster fired. Come at me.
Wow.
Come at me, bro. I can't think of an alien that rhymes with bro. Tell us in the comments. If you know a Star Wars alien that rhymes with bro, then you can tell us on Facebook or Twitter. You can find us at Just Enough Trope. You can also find us on iTunes. Search for Just Enough Trope. You can find the show page. Subscribe to us if you want more updates from the con of what's going on, what we're doing tomorrow, which we'll talk about in a second, and funny stories, comedy, improvisations, making lists, that sort of thing. You can find that there. If you listen to the show and you enjoy it, then give us a rating and give us a review. We'd appreciate that. That's how shows like us move forward. We hear from you. You guys say, it's pretty good. Or maybe in the rare case you go, it could be better. But we'd appreciate could be good. If you're feeling lazy and you don't like the show, works out. So don't say anything. Just kidding. Give us 5 stars. We'd appreciate that. So tomorrow, what's going on tomorrow? We've got the Enterprising Individuals panel.
Yes.
And we've got a couple other things, interviews. Specifically, we're talking to Emma Bull, who, if you don't know, wonderful, wonderful Emma Bull. I think she wants to do like a skit or something. She was working. We were like developing something tonight. We talked to her tonight.
I know.
We've talked to her just about every year now that we've done the show as a show. as a podcast, and I think she's ready to take it to the next level.
I think she is too.
Yeah, so there's going to be some kind of
skit
theater, some agitprop theater or something like that. We're going to do something. We're also talking to Shauna McGuire, who is a novelist and a guest of honor this year.
Yes.
And we're talking to Tracy Lee Coco, who is a actress and a stunt woman. And I think in this context, most famously, she was Ensign J on Star Trek The Next Generation. But she's done much more than that, and much more in the Star Trek franchise specifically. So that's a get for the Enterprising Individual show, I'll tell you that much.
Sure.
And I can't wait to talk to her. I'm also on a couple panels tomorrow. I'm on speaking of Star Trek, a panel called The Odd-Numbered Star Trek Curse, where we talk about why the old legend that the odd-numbered Star Trek movies are bad.
Right.
I think that's flipped around now, though.
Okay. Well, maybe that's something you guys can
Into
talk
Darkness
about.
is 12, so yeah, it's definitely flipped around. We are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Star Trek, The Retrospective is the panel that's on at 3:30. I'm actually modding that panel, and here's the description. Let's look back at 50 years. Thanks. So somehow I will guide us through a 50-year retrospective look at the world of Trek, joined by Tracy Lee Coco. So I'm sure she'll have something to input there. And I feel like that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough for now. So being enough for now, we're going to sign off for now, and we'll be back tomorrow with an update from what's going on in CONvergence, the floor of CONvergence 2017 on day 2. Until then, we're signing off. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.